Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Michael, and if you love movies as much as I do, I would very much appreciate it because it's free and it doesn't cost you anything but a click to just subscribe to my channel, like the video if you do like it, and if you have any comments on what you've seen so far this year, what is your favorite movies, your least favorite movies, if you agree with my list, if you disagree with it, leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you. So, in the first half of this year, I saw 44 movies. I'm on pace to see, I want to see 100 movies this year. That would be the record for me. I was on a greater pace earlier in the year, but I've kind of slowed down a little bit. Less accessibility to nice theaters and whatnot where I live now. But the first half of this year, I think, went to the theater 50 some odd times, but I saw 44 new movies. So this is a list of that. This is part one. It would be number 44 down to number 23. Without further ado, let's jump right into it. At number 44, Psycho Killer. This is one of the most generic horror films I've ever seen. At least if you're going to copy something, copy it well. It seemed like they were trying to copy a lot of things from different movies. The main actress, I can't remember what I know her from. Maybe it's Barbarian or something. She's not really that good in this either. The killer doesn't work. The only interesting part in the whole movie is like this, the killer goes to visit a cult or something, and Malcolm McDowell's there, and it's kind of funny, and it's got, you know, a little bit of entertainment there, but overall, I really get sick and tired too of them like not knowing what it is. Like, oh, let's just make him a Satanist. It's like, every time, it's just Satan this and Satan that, and just, come on guys, come up with an original idea, you know, it's completely lazy. Number 43. Scary Movie. I have never been the biggest fan of this franchise to begin with, but the new one, you know, they're just capitalizing on the requel trend, and it's very clear that they just maybe did some research or had an idea that this was the right time to bring it back because, you know, all the other horror films are doing this same type of thing, and it's clearly a rushed script. These movies aren't really good to begin with, but it was low-hanging fruit to the max. Not for me. I laughed a little bit, but mostly it sucked. 42, movie called Dolly. It's kind of a B horror movie. There's really only two things I liked about it. One, that Seann William Scott is in it for like 5 minutes, and it had kind of a cool aesthetic. It looked kind of like Grindhouse. It kind of had like a little bit of that grungy feel to it and whatnot, and that was cool. But mostly it's just people run across someone in the woods who wants to like turn people into a doll or is dressed as a doll. I don't know, the whole thing just didn't work for me. I don't know. I did not care much for this one. Number 41, Strangers Chapter 3. I'm one of those people that I actually don't really like the original Strangers that much. I feel like it's a couple arguing, it's mostly boring. I've never understood the love for it. I've always owned it at different times because I'm a movie collector and I usually own tons, and scary movies are some of my favorites, but I don't know. I've always thought Prey at Night was better. I really like Strangers Chapter 1. I thought Strangers Chapter 1 was really good. Without getting into too much detail, I just felt like it was a fun movie. It wasn't anything spectacular, but I liked it. Chapter 2 is like a glorified chase scene. Almost nothing happens. And this third one, oh boy, rather than having the girl, you know, get revenge and get away, they have this whole like Stockholm syndrome thing where they're kind of making it look like she sympathizes with the killers or something. I guess that's different. Different can be great, and different sometimes doesn't work, and I don't care what you do that's different. If it doesn't work, it's a bad movie. This is a bad movie. I really did not like it because I really liked the first one, and the second two just, wow. Next, number 40, Return to Silent Hill. The first Silent Hill movie in like 2006 was good. The sequel was not good. The first one really kind of captured the tone and the feel, and it had a good story. This one, it just didn't really have anything to offer. There was a couple of shots of like, it looked like the video game a time or two. Most of it looked really cheap. Most of the movie looked like he was just standing in front of a green screen. I remember almost nothing from the movie. That must tell you something. Alright, the next one is probably going to surprise a lot of you, but number 39 is Disclosure Day. Um, I felt like a lot of the things in this movie did not work as far as the story, the way they were telling the story, the way they were going about it. I didn't like. And then on top of that, as some of you might know, I'm a Christian, and I just felt like the messaging in here was some sort of not very well veiled attempt at destroying any belief and trying to implant something about aliens as our fathers or something. I don't know. Truth be told, I didn't make it through the whole movie. I left because it was, to me, quite offensive. Number 38, Backrooms. I don't know what the deal is. Gen Z people who I know maybe help me understand, but what is the deal with when something becomes viral online, therefore let's make a movie about it? There was no story in this movie. It was like big empty spaces. Somebody finds a space in a wall. Why is it there? There's no explanation of anything. There's barely any character development. And then it's just, oh, there's stuff stuck in the floor. I don't know. The whole time I just, it's fine if it worked for you. For me, I just truly didn't feel like there was any story or any characters or anything in there that was worth making note of. So I didn't walk out. 37, Ready or Not, Here I Come, Ready or Not 2. Go watch Ready or Not. Ready or Not is a good film. Ready or Not 2 is the classic Hollywood example of, well, we can just probably make money, so let's make another one. Let's throw a bunch of recognizable faces in there. Let's throw Elijah Wood and Sarah Michelle Gellar and what's his face from The Faculty. And so, the movie wasn't good. It was a rehash, not nearly as good. I like Catherine Newton. I like Samara Weaving. I like a lot of these people. The movie did not work at all. It was super lame. Number 36, Hunting Matthew Nichols. I'm assuming this is like an independent movie. I was blessed to be in St. Louis and in Winston-Salem, North Carolina a lot this year. And those two places get a lot more movies than where I live in rural Illinois now. So I had a lot more access to things like that. It's found footage. Like most found footage, I felt like the build-up was really good. The payoff was your typical witchcraft or devil or whatever random thing you want to throw at you. And it just fizzled out for me. But I enjoyed the story. I was drawn in. The reason it's above the other movies in this is because it actually, for the most part, I was hooked. I enjoyed. I felt invested. They felt like real people. And when a found footage movie feels like real people, it's good. I just felt like it tapered off at the end. I didn't like the way it ended. 35, Supergirl. I'm not even really sure why I have this ranked this high. I feel like this could probably be, honestly, at like 40. I might have to change that later, but who were they marketing this movie to? Okay, Supergirl movie should be marketed to what? Preteen girls, right? For the most part, and it should be empowering. Instead, you provide a movie about a broken, drunken Supergirl. So you want me to take my niece, who's 8 years old, to watch that movie? How dare you make that kind of thing? I mean, I don't know. You get somewhat of a redemptive arc there with the storytelling that's nice, but I'm sick and tired of them making these. They're a superhero. Let them act like a superhero. Why do they have to act like some sort of nonchalant idiot? I don't know. Let's make Thor fat and Endgame. Oh, that'll be funny. It wasn't that funny. So I don't know. I was not a fan of this movie. You can tell. Number 34, Lee Cronin's The Mummy. This is the point where I can start to at least say some redeeming things about every movie, okay? The redeeming parts of this were it has some good acting, and it has a nice build-up in the beginning. What I didn't like is that it felt like it was just trying to be gross for the sake of being gross. And then it wasn't really a mummy movie. It was more like a mixture of paranormal and horror and all these different things, and that's great if it works. It just didn't really work for me in this. It was more style over substance, and I like style, but I'm the kind of person I have to have substance, and I didn't feel like it did both. So that is why that lands where it's at. Number 33, Super Mario Galaxy movie. It's aesthetically beautiful. It still has good music. It has some fun stuff in there. The reason I don't like it nearly as much as the first one is it's genuinely a huge step down. It's a very large step down from the first movie. The first movie had a very clear story, a very clear objective, and it unfolded the way a movie should. This didn't even feel like a movie. This felt like different ideas they had spliced together. And also, I'm really getting sick and tired of filmmakers pretending like children are dumb. Children are not stupid. I could understand very large concepts when I was young. If you have any kind of parent who's teaching you in any way or helping you to learn and encouraging you to use your mind, my niece and nephew are far smarter than this movie makes them out to be, and this movie apparently wants them to think they're dumb, and that annoys me. 32, Hokum. Hokum actually has some pretty cool stuff in it. Hokum's got a cool setting. It's got some fun story beats. I just felt like it was very overrated. I don't know. It kept my attention, but it never really grabbed me. It never really moved me. It didn't really scare me that much. And when I got the ideas of things that they were going for, when it did scare me, I don't know. I just wasn't. A lot of people loved this one, but this is my opinion in my list, and I personally I found it to be pretty good. It's a story about this hotel and this tragedy that happened and this mystery and these things, and but it had a lot of tropes in it too that really annoyed me too, like tropey big time. Number 31, Forbidden Fruits. It's kind of like a modern take on The Craft with girls that work at a mall. It was kind of unique in that I don't feel like there's a ton of movies that have tried to do that concept. I felt like all the main girls were good. It just didn't do anything to elevate the concept above anything that I've already seen. And then the ending to me was not really great. I'm really big on movies beginning and ending well. It's like a book needs to begin well and hook you, right? And then it needs to end well, because otherwise it leaves a bad taste in your mouth and it informs everything that happened before it. It's like the last movie in a trilogy, Halloween Ends, that ends up kind of, doing that. And for me, I wasn't a big fan of the ending. But overall, a pretty good movie. Number 30, Primate. A lot of people were a lot higher on this than I was. It's not a bad film. A pet chimpanzee that gets rabies and goes bonkers on people. It's pretty simple. I just think a lot of it happened where they kind of got trapped in like this pool, and they're sitting around in the pool, and they're floating around in the pool, and it's just cat and mouse for a long time. I like changing set pieces and things to move when there to be different scenarios. Sometimes a movie can be good in one location, but typically for me, I like switching it up, and I like to feel like the story's moving and going somewhere. Kind of one of the reasons why I like Halloween 4 more than the original Halloween. Super hot take, I know, but it's the first one I ever saw, and the movie moves and has a lot of different things to catch the eye. That I love that. So Primate, pretty good movie, but not something that I loved. Number 29, we have Faces of Death. Faces of Death originally was exploitation, films that were made to look real, but they were depictions of death and things. And I remember watching them on VHS back in the day. This is much, much different. This is more a serial killer taking the concept of that and kind of using it. And so it was unique in that. It was better than I thought it was going to be. It didn't elevate itself to the place where I put it in my top 20, which I think my top 20 are all movies that I really enjoyed. I did like certain things about it, but I didn't love it. But the fact that it's much different than the source material is interesting, and I would encourage you to check it out. Number 28, Protector. This is kind of a mid-budget, independently released Milla Jovovich movie about like her daughter being trafficked and her looking for her. It has one really good action sequence, maybe more than one, but one in particular, where I think it's where they're trying to kidnap the daughter, and it's this big chase, and that was really cool. I didn't love the kind of twist, change, direction it went near the end. Not a big fan of that, and it was a movie that I expected to be better, and I was a little let down. My expectations were a bit higher. They weren't quite met. It's probably why it ends up here. Let's see, number 27, Dracula. The 11,000th version of Dracula with Caleb Landry Jones. I actually would have probably had this higher, but there's so many things I'm mixed on. It has these bad CGI gargoyle things. I don't know why they didn't just cast people. That was weird. I feel like it ended not as compelling as it started, but there's a lot of things in here I like. Caleb Landry Jones' performance is great. The stuff back in the 1400s or whenever that was when the movie started, the origin story is amazing. His acting is incredible. The concept of him using these special perfume, they just kind of mix up the vampire lore with like this perfume and stuff. There's enough of that I think is really, really interesting. But for a movie to be really good or great, it has to kind of be, good across the board. And this just has enough that detracts from it that I can't put it any higher. So it comes in at number 27. 26. We've got Shelter. Shelter, this is a Jason Statham film. Typical Jason Statham, a man with a certain set of skills is living somewhere and has to protect somebody. It's very basic paint-by-numbers Jason Statham, but it is also a really well-made, mid-budget action film. You'll have a good time with it. You won't call it an all-time great, but you won't regret seeing it. I would definitely say check that one out, especially if you're just wanting a little popcorn movie when you're at home. Perfectly good for that. Number 25, we got Beast. Beast is Australian made, I believe. I'm actually thinking this one might have to be ranked a little lower too eventually, but I liked it enough to put it in the middle. It is, a guy who used to be a big MMA fighter, down on his luck. For different circumstantial reasons, he has to get back in the ring or the cage, and it's like any MMA movie they've ever made. I'm a huge UFC fan, so it's kind of like, it works on some levels. It does have some compelling drama in there, but on other ways it doesn't fully work. That's why it's kind of in the middle. All right, 24, I Can Only Imagine 2. I did not like it nearly as well as the first film. First film, of course, you have a ton of Dennis Quaid in there, and he's amazing, and he's not here. This is further down the line. It's a true story about Mercy Me, the Christian band, and different elements in that. Milo, last name starts with a V. I'll butcher it if I try to say it here. He is one of the main characters too. And it's a good film. It's uplifting. It has a good story. It just didn't have that extra bit of secret sauce to elevate it for me, but it is a good film. And last but not least on this first part, we have How to Make a Killing. This movie would have ranked much higher if it didn't end up becoming such a Debbie Downer in the end. Whoa, does it become very dark and just difficult to watch. But the performance by Glenn Powell here, I'm really perplexed that Glenn Powell doesn't get more love than he does, because he's an excellent actor, and I thought he was great in The Running Man. That is a movie I would have ranked way higher than most people. I liked it a lot. He's good in this. The concept is he's part of this billionaire family, and they've got this huge wealth, and there's like 7 people who have to die, and who can inherit all the money, and his mom had died and always kind of told him, he'd get cut out of the inheritance, and so he launches this crazy scheme to go try to get the money and all that. And it works great for most of it, but then it goes this really dark route that isn't. It's just dark and not dark comedy, and I was not expecting that. Didn't care for it. So anyway, guys, that is my ranking of my top, or my bottom, should I say, 20 some odd movies of the the first half of this year. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll check you out on part 2 coming up.